Hey Raider Nation, Mark Mize here with the Coach's Corner Show as we're alongside Richland assistant coach Troy Hughes today. We want to remind you this is sponsored by PES. So Coach Hughes, looking toward Summertown this weekend. First of all, feels a little bit more like football weather.
It does, a little coolness in the air and definitely feels a little more like football season right now.
So, of course, this past week, Richland fell to Grace Christian Academy up in Franklin, 40-7. So, first off, we'll ask about some injury news. Of course, Caleb Briggs and Trey Stacy were not able to go for that game. Just what are their prospects for potentially playing this week versus Summertown?
Well, right now, Mark, Trey Stacy's scheduled to go back to the doctor this week, and hopefully, we're hopeful that he'll get released and be able to get back out and practice some this week before Friday night, and hopefully he'll be able to go this week. Caleb Briggs was out yesterday on the field. Went to the doctor last week and had an MRI done, no tears, just a strained ligament, and still got some swelling in his knee, but he was out yesterday going through some drills on the side to test his mobility and the strength of his leg, and felt pretty good, but still right now, he's got a little ways to go before we feel good about him coming out Friday night. So I think he'll probably be a game time decision.
All right, and of course with those players, saw them on the sidelines this past week, really encouraging some of the younger guys, some of the guys who are filling in to take their place. And of course you have Dan Hinkle, who's out for the season, a senior middle linebacker. But Coach Moo's calling him Coach Dan now. And so how'd you feel about their leadership, even when they weren't able to put on the pads?
Well, that's important for the guys, especially Dan being a senior that's been around the program since middle school, which would be 6 years now. He's been in the program, and there's still ways that he can contribute to the team, even though he's not out on the field, and Dan does a good job of leading the guys and talking to them and keeping their spirits high, and at times when you're giving up touchdowns and you're getting beat, it's easy to put your head down, but he seems to be a guy that's kind of right there with them and giving them a pat on the butt, trying to get them back going.
And so now looking at the Grace Christian game, overall at the start you have a very talented opposing quarterback in Austin Amore, and really seemed like they struck very quickly. I think they scored on 2 of their first 5 plays, but then the defense kind of rebounded, started getting some pressure on him. How'd you feel about just what he brought to the table in the game and how your defense performed there, especially in the second through fourth quarters?
Well, actually going into the game, we knew that they could score. We knew that he had a big play ability, either throwing the football or running the football. So, our goal was to take one of the 2 away from him, and we felt pretty confident about taking the pass away from him. Now, early on, they completed a couple of passes. And like you said, the first 2 out of 3 passes that he threw were for big plays and touchdowns. And after that, we kind of settled down a little bit on defense. And, it's hard to simulate in practice the speed of their receivers, the arm of their quarterback. We don't have enough players out here, and we don't have that skilled player that's not playing defense for us to put on the scout team to kind of simulate what they're going to do. So, we talked all week about the speed of the receivers and the arm strength of the quarterback, but until you actually get in the game and feel the speed of the receivers and see the strength of the quarterback's arm, as a young kid, you really can interpret that. And then, after the first 3 plays of the ball game, it kind of opened their eyes a little bit, and we understood or the kids understood what we were trying to tell them all week in practice, and they settled down a little bit and done a better job defensively from a passing perspective after those first 2 or 3 plays.
And of course, something that had been kind of missing the last 2 years from the defense is the ability to really pressure the passer through blitzes and of course just through your defensive line play. But it seems like this season, and even in this game versus Grace Christian, you've had improved pressure on the opposing offensive line and opposing backfield.
Well, we have, and we understand as a defense up front, our defensive linemen don't get a whole lot of pressure. So Coach Murphy, it gets to a certain point in the game where you got to start sending linebackers, which opens up some holes in your secondary and flats from a defensive perspective. But at the same time, when you've got a quality quarterback like what Grace Christian had, we couldn't allow him time to just stand back there and pick us apart and throw the football. So we started sending some linebackers and some people off the edges and kind of hurried him a little bit. And it was, we were able to force a couple incompletions there throughout several drives throughout the game.
And then offensively, of course, had some trouble with the exchange there between the center and the quarterback. Did you address that after the game, or how did you feel about what took place there?
Well, we've struggled with that all year, if you'll recall, and actually last week in the Fayetteville City game, and we talked about it, we didn't have one bad exchange, one bad snap, one bad mishandled snap throughout the entire Fayetteville City game, and Coach Moose praised that during the week, and it was positive for us. We ended up playing a better football game against Fayetteville City and not having any negative plays. Negative plays have been our downfall all year, whether it be a mishandled snap that we recover and lose 8 yards, that's still a negative play, or a mishandled snap that the other team scoots up and carries back for a touchdown. So we really need to eliminate those negative plays. We're not a team that's gonna get a lot of first downs when it's 3rd and 12, because we don't throw the ball well enough to do that. We like to be in position where it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, and we feel like we can grind out a first down in that situation. And unfortunately, we have some mishandled snaps, and it seemed like Friday night every time we did, it was 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, or 2nd and short, and then it put us behind the chains at 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, and we just, as a football team, with our ability to throw the ball, that puts us in a bad predicament and bad spot, and teams for the most part know we're not going to throw the football, and they load the box up on us, which makes it difficult for us to get first downs in those situations.
And so once again, it seems like every single week you have a new player really step up on offense. This week it seemed to be Tyler Young, rushed for 105 yards. Had really been getting some carries the first couple games of the season, then had kind of tempered off, and then just had an excellent game this week versus Grace Christian, it looked like.
Well, we felt all year that we were pretty deep at the running back position, and Tyler played some running back for us in rows that may not carry the football quite as much, but he had a few carries on the year. But with the absence of Briggs, and then with Jimmy Hickman running the football and Gus McGowan running the football as much as they do, we felt like we needed to get some fresh bodies in at times, and Tyler seemed to be the go-to guy last Friday night. He was really running the football hard, and we felt like we done an exceptional job for the first time all year on the offensive line. We really felt like going into the game that we could block Grace Christian up front. And then Friday night, we done a really good job of blocking them up front, and he just happened to be the beneficiary of our offensive line doing a great job, and he got in there behind them and ran the ball well for us.
And then finally, of course, have to mention on special teams, Jace Urwich hit his 10th straight extra point that he's made on the season. Obviously, you knew he was going to be a good kicker coming in once he showed you what he could do in the preseason, but did even y'all expect him to be just this consistent?
Well, I'll go back to, Jace has done an outstanding job kicking, but it all starts with a snap. And Hunter Evans is our snapper, and he's done a great job. He'll snap 2 or 3 bad ones in practice, and pregame he'll snap a bad one, but it seems like when we score a touchdown and we get out there, he makes a pretty good snap every time. And Braxton Woodard is our holder, and he does a great job of getting the ball and getting it down for Urwich to kick. And we feel like now, is if we can get a snap and get the ball placed, Jace is going to make the extra point, and he's done an exceptional job with that so far this year.
We'll be back after a quick timeout to talk over the Summertown game. You're watching Richland Coach's Corner Show here, sponsored by PES.
Here at First Baptist Pulaski, we are not perfect people. To perhaps consider, this is terrible. Start that again. You're going to delete all these, right? Don't keep these.
Fellowship's the word I was looking for. Doofus. Yeah, you put that in the reel.
And this is still rolling. Oh, for the outtakes.
But we would love for you to join us in worshiping a perfect God.
Hashtag struggle, right?
I've got my closest friends over to watch the game on cable. Did you know you can advertise your local business during this cable program? Via Media represents the advertising for your cable system. They could put a TV commercial for you right here on this system during this show. Let Via Media help you. Call Via Media today or viamediatv.com.
And we're back here on the Richland Coaches Corner Show, sponsored by PS. I'm Mark Mize here alongside Richland assistant coach Troy Hughes. So, Coach Hughes, we just talked about last week's game versus Grace Christian. Now we're looking forward to the game versus Summertown, another region game, as you do continue this run of 8 straight region games in 8 weeks. Just overall, what are your initial thoughts about Summertown and what you've seen from them this year?
Well, initially, Summertown's 5-1 on the season. And they started their football program 6 years ago, brand new from scratch, and they've got 16 seniors right now that have been in that program for, and I say maybe not all of them, but I would say the majority of those seniors, which is 16 of them, been in that program for 6 years, and without a question, the first word that comes to my mind is committed. I mean, those guys are committed, and they're playing like it. They've been together. They've been through 6 years of fall practice, 6 years of games, and they're playing like a team that's been together that long, and they're determined, and they're committed, and they go out on Friday nights, and they play with heart, they play with passion, and they're pretty talented to go with it.
And so, looking first at their offense, what kind of offense do you think Raiders fans can expect from Summertown on Friday night?
They're going to spread it out. They've got a quarterback that throws the ball decent. He's not a great passer, but they spread the field, and they'll throw it quite a bit. They run jet sweeps, jet motion. They're going to get in some split backs and just run dives up the middle. They try to spread you out as much as possible, throwing it, and then they try to hit you with quick hitters up the middle, and they do a good job with it. They throw a lot of screens. They throw the ball downfield a lot. As far as an offense goes, it's really hard to pinpoint what they do because they're all over the map. They do a little bit of everything, and they don't really do anything exceptional. They just do a lot of things pretty good.
And so defensively, of course, you have film from several of Summertown's games this year. They did get beaten by CA, and then had a really close game last week versus Moore County. Have you seen anything on the film that you really think that the defense can take into the game and help them excel? Well,
first of all, I think we've got to do a good job of stopping the run. They've got a running back. They got several running backs, but they've got one running back that's exceptional. Maybe the fastest kid in the region. He really runs the ball well. He runs it hard, and they try to spread the field and get him the football as much as possible. So I think we've got to stop the run first. And if we can stop the run, and then passing the ball, you always have a shot at passing the ball because for the most part, high school teams are not just pinpoint accurate passing, and it's how kind of translate this into baseball. If you hit the ball in the air, one guy's got to catch it. But if you hit it on the ground, one guy's got to catch it, then he's got to throw it, and then another guy's got to catch it before you're out. So in football, if we can shut down their run and make them throw the football, well, the quarterback's got to make a good throw, and then the receiver's got to do a good job of catching the ball. So that's what we want to do. We want to shut the run down first and put a little added pressure on them and make them have to throw the football.
And then, of course, looking at your offense, you've had some success at times this year. What do you think you can take into this game, and what do you really think will make it a successful night offensively for Richland?
Well, first of all, like I said, we're not sure about Briggs. And even if Briggs is able to play, he's going to be limited. He's not going to be able to go out and play as much as what he had played or be on the field for as many snaps as what he had prior to his injury. So, we're preparing this week not to have Briggs. We're going to get back in our foot-to-foot. Like I said, we had success with that last week, except for the mishandled snaps and the negative plays. So we're going to continue to do that, and hopefully we can move the ball effectively on the ground, and then occasionally throw a pass here or there when nobody in the stadium's thinking that we're going to throw a pass, and that's when we're successful throwing the ball is after we run it 15 times in a row and then we sneak a pass in. Generally, we have success with that, so that's where we're going to start with our foot-to-foot, and we'll also go some spread a little bit and let Latrell Daly run the football, and he's done an exceptional job this year coming in. Never having played quarterback before, and we're not asking him to throw the football a lot. He's primarily running it, but I'll be honest, we've worked this week with him some on throwing the football just enough so that the defense has to honor the fact that he might throw it. So, and we feel like if we can do that, that'll give us a little better chance of running the football up the middle.
And so finally, what do you think is the biggest key this week versus Summertown overall?
The biggest key is for our kids to go out and compete. You get to a point in the season, week 5, week 6, where, you've been at this now for 6 or 7 weeks, and if you haven't won a lot of football games, if you're not having a lot of success, it's easy for the kids to kind of say, man, I'm ready for this thing to be over with. And that's what we're stressing all week is say, be competitive. Get out there and win. Win every snap, win every play. It doesn't matter what the scoreboard says. If you go out there and you give 110% on every play, and then we'll be competitive if we do that. And when you walk off the field, you can walk off with your head held high, knowing that you left it all on the field. And that's what we're stressing this week. And typically when you do those things, sometimes you get breaks, sometimes things work out for you, and you end up winning the football game. So that's our main focus this week, is to go out and play every snap like it's your last, 110%. And at the end of the game, we'll look up at the scoreboard when the game's over with and see what the final score is.
And so Raiders travel to Summertown this week looking for their first region win of the year. This has been the Richland Coaches Corner Show. I'm Mark Mize alongside Richland assistant coach Troy Hughes saying thank you and good night.